Hello, everyone. I found this cool project on Reddit. This guy, he made a Raycaster in x86 assembly. And so with this, he's just booting directly into the CPU. There's no kernel or anything like that. Uh, and he's also using SSE instructions for doing all the floating point math, which is also pretty cool. And so if we go to his GitHub, you can see he's got a little demo, and you can just build and run this with NASM and QEMU. And I wanted to look at some of the source code. So here we've got boot ASM. So he's just got a description of the memory layout up here. And we can see here, he's actually setting up all of the real mode and protected mode stuff here. So with real mode, there isn't a virtual memory space. And so all of the addresses are actually like physical hardware addresses. And so you could almost think of this like ring -1, if you've ever heard of like ring 0 for kernel, for the kernel. And then in here, he's actually booting into protected mode. And that's like where the kernel would run it at ring 0. And protected mode is where you get your virtual address space and all of that. And so we can scroll down a bit. And then here's his main function. And so here he's enabling SSE instructions, setting up the mouse. So the mouse and the keyboard both work, which is pretty cool. And let's see, scroll down a bit. Yeah, so you can see all these XMM registers. This is all of the SSE2 instructions. And so he's using this for pretty much all the math. And scroll down a bit. So here he's getting the mouse input from the interrupts. And so since he's using like the PS2 interrupts, then this is probably like some of the lowest latency you could get, since it would just be at like the level of instructions rather than having to like pull the mouse and the keyboard and things like that. So here, like he's just got a whole bunch of math stuff for normalizing vectors and things like that. And down here a little bit, he's got perspective projection for raycasting. And so what perspective projection does is that's what gives you like the 3D effect of like objects far away getting like smaller. That's what perspective projection is for. And so here's all of his raycasting code, all using SSE2 instructions. And we can scroll down a little more. And where is... Yeah, and so here's all his drawing routines, right? So he can draw rectangles, and he can just loop over the textures. Or, so here's draw textures, and here's where it loops over the textures. Clear the screen, fill the screen. You can draw like he's got a lot of debug routines in here, because, you need, if you're writing something like this, there's a whole lot of debugging that would have to go on. Run the player, and here's where he's handling all the interrupts. Here's all his constants, and then fonts, the color palette, and then he's also got all the textures over here in this file, and these are just some big array textures, and he's just indexing straight into these, and he pulled these straight from the Quake WAD file. And so if we go ahead, we can run this, and let me go ahead and clone it. And then compile it with NASM. And go ahead and run it with QEMU. And there we go. Let's see. Resizing doesn't quite work, but you can see the mouse works. I'm moving the mouse. The keyboard works. And all this is just written in straight x86 assembly with SSE2 instructions. I found it pretty interesting. I hope you guys find it interesting as well. You can go and check out his GitHub, or star it, or check out his Reddit page as well. It's pretty interesting.